Okay, then very warm welcome to our presentation of the first part of the case study for functional yogurt. My name is Ricardo Kali. I'm one member of the so-called Zulu group, which is presenting this to you. I would like then to overhand to my dear colleague to start with the first task.
Okay, so the case here is the offer we want to give to the customer is customized functional food, functional yogurt, offered to customer as a subscription. So we place an order, and every month or every week, depending on what he chooses, he gets yogurts delivered to fit its health, and it's delivered on his or her doorstep or at the fitness company he uses. So we wanted to first determine what are the competitive advantage of such a solution. We determined there is no cost advantage to this solution because there is added cost linked to the fact that we will produce tailor-made yogurts. There will be cost added to collect the data from the customer to adapt the recipe every time. And there will be logistic costs to deliver the yogurt to each customer. So there is no cost advantages in this model. But we see the opportunity to get a premium price because first, there is a price acceptance for healthy and functional food. And we deliver innovation that did not exist before because we tailor-made the product for a unique customer. It's adapted constantly over its condition, and it's delivered just where he or she needs it. So it's very convenient for it. So it's kind of a yogurt as a service.
Thank you. So now it's my part, and we have this offer about tailor-made functional yogurt, which provides certain health benefits and is good for our customers. Our competition can offer something similar in that regard, because we believe, as we have understood the technology, the technical aspects to produce the yogurt, to make it, to shelf life, to ship, and everything is quite easy to copy or to re-engineer if you put certain effort into it. Therefore, also the entry in the field in general of functional yogurt is not that complicated for companies to merge, which means even unknown player could enter our market. Then we believe also the market is very attractive. So at the end, it will attract new players. And also due to the nature of the functional yogurt, which kind of bacterial strain you use, some bacterial strains have similar health effects, which means also if we have just a technical advantage with our bacterial strain or so, it wouldn't be enough. So we need a sphere of exclusivity. In this sphere, we want to create some valuable, rare, imperfectly imitable, and imperfectly substitutable resources, so that our customer benefits and advantages are unique to us. With that, we have the feeling that our impact will be that we sustain, on one hand, the value of our product and our brand, the brand recognition, because no one else is playing in the same field. So if we have a cheap copycat or so, which has bad results, it will not fall back to our product or our functional aspect of the product. And perhaps certain dedicated health effects, perhaps only achievable with our product. And therefore, our unique differentiator shall be not only unique due to technical advantages, but really to the customer benefits that we provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. I think that I can proceed. So now the next task, what we wanted to do I wanted to tackle is to see which were the generic IP strategies which would be applicable for this case at hand. So how could we actually tackle this, and which would be the best way to proceed forward? So as we know, there are two basic strategies or which we can tackle. So first one would be as a fortress monopoly, which I will briefly look into, and then I will hand it over to my colleague for a further elaboration on that. So maybe in a way, so to look at the pros of the fortress monopoly strategy, so the classic one, maybe it has a negative prospect of it, or let's say it's being a classical one. It does have the drawbacks could be rather easily visible, but still we think it might be the positive ways of it, or the positive, let's say, outcomes of such a strategy would be that since take into account the potential market value of this within this industry. So as we've seen that there is data that it was in 2013, it reached 180 billion pounds, and this was in 2013, and 10 years before it was significantly lower than that. So this data and this value should increase even more in time. This means that there is considerable potential in market value here, and this might be a reason to actually put or to justify such an increased investment, which is necessary to enable to maximize the IP walling in, or the fortress one could make. And this is one of the reasons why this could be useful. Then, of course, such a large, let's say, such a widespread approach could also lead to no limitations on creating such new IP for that, and this would be useful for strengthening what we were talking before. So it's the exclusivity sphere. So if we want, and if we have understood the need to form this exclusivity sphere of this, which would encircle the product which we're developing, this actually could also be one reason why an increased investment in this could be justified. Also, such a strategy would enable to tackle the creation of new innovative IP on other aspects other than just focusing on the product. And that is to focus maybe on the innovative use case scenarios. So we've seen that there were studies that mentioned the possibility of having individual formulations, or perhaps also in new distribution channels. Those could be from this point of view, just not focusing on the product itself, but also on the use case scenarios. So this could be also interesting for enlarging this sphere exclusivity and generating new IP for that. And also, lastly, but maybe not leastly, such an approach which would be to have such a strategy would, of course, make our external counsel happy. But yeah, of course, the cons here, these were the positive sides to that. The cons, of course, are basically the same one. So there is only one part. So since this technology, or since actually this the field which we are playing with here is hardly, let's say, new. So there are many players there. We will need to take into account that there will be a lot of already presently existing prior art, or actually the technology will be wide known. So this would be a limiting factor to be able to create and to have this strategy. And basically, yeah, this is the biggest one. And therefore, we also considered the second strategy of which would be possible, but there I leave it to my colleague to proceed onwards. Nora?
Thank you, Branimir. I want to present you the value-added monopoly as a generic IP strategy. In the case of the functional food or functional yogurt, the value-added monopoly are relevant for the protection of user-specific features, as we have in this case the prebiotic bacterial input, and it's also useful for products which are only in part or which are only partly protectable, because the classic standard yogurt is as well known in the market. And the value-added monopoly is typically used for consumer products as the functional food. And it's useful in our case because we have a high level of innovation. We generate new benefits for our users, for our customers. They are able to customize maybe also their functional food, and it makes us different from the market standard. And we generate also a new offer for health conscious people, and this has to be viewed separately. So from our point of view, the pros are higher to save our exclusivity with this kind of IP strategy, and there are, from our point, no contrast. Thank you.
Okay, so then the fourth question that we were giving was to describe the role of IP as the instrument for protecting resource and the market position. Then if we go to slide 6, which we're already on, this slide will show you the cost effect, so the internal side, the costs that will arise from this. I mean, the main resources that are interesting in this case is the digital aspects of the inventions or the solutions, the use cases. So that will be that we will have a cost for creating protection around them, for not being so easily copyable or substitutable. It will also give us the chance in different ways and at different times, of course, to maintain the rareness and uniqueness of these resources by using different types of IP. We will also have the chance to make them sustainable. That means that we will be given a chance to actually, which will be discussed later, have an income on them when we put them on the market, which will be shown in the appropriability of returns of these resources. And it will also give us the chance to scale them globally and also internally.
I'm Shupe, and so Clement and I are presenting this last slide. So we are given the role of the task of describing the role of IP as an instrument for protecting the resources of a firm. So we see it as basically how we are using IP to basically influence or shape or control Porter's 5 forces. And as we recall, that is based on limiting the bargaining power of our direct competitors, as well as customers, suppliers, preventing new entries to the market, as well as from substitution. So the role of IP can be seen as a shift, I guess, from the bottom up. We recognize that there has to be a shift from the bottom up approach from patents, which was in terms of like the hardcore science of bacterial formulation, and that kind of patent protection, towards a wider range and more upstream protection, also not protection, establishing a sphere of exclusivity for other products, such as we would need to establish exclusivity in the digitalization in terms of data, logistics, on how the probiotics are delivered, and as well as to wearables. In addition, we are able to use IP in a more intelligent way as the probiotic market moves towards a more customized approach. So for example, customers are able to get data from the customer and find out what the customer needs. So what kind of probiotics the customer needs, and then you're able to then provide a targeted solution towards the customer. And this changes the way we think about collecting the data, providing the logistics. So basically, we have a tailor-made approach. And so providing the logistics and then distribution towards the customer. So for example, we were given information that, for example, the yogurt can be delivered via fitness studios. And in that respect, I don't know, Clement, you can interrupt me anytime. In that respect, it enables us to establish licensing agreements, perhaps with fitness studios, establishing more exclusivity between distributors. And this, again, coming back to Porter's 5 forces, that's setting a border on the bargaining power of suppliers and competitors. And also subscription, we can possibly make this more exclusive so that we can limit the bargaining power of the customer, for example. I had another minor point about Clement. Maybe you want to make your point, or
yeah. So I think nicely. I think the handout also nicely summarizes like the 360 objectives, the points that we'll be discussing. I think it can be summarized very nicely into like the aspects of safeguarding value creation. So it allows us to avoid infringement of third-party IPs, especially in the digital elements. There's also the element that we talk about on strategic prohibition against competitors, as well as exclusifying resources, and also lastly on the bit of skimming the willingness to pay.